Let's go out to New York City, our sister station out there in New York. Meredith Gorman standing by for us. So, Meredith, we just talked about this NYPD just holding this news conference. They did have a decent amount of information. So, can you bring us up to speed?
Absolutely. So as you can see right behind me, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare's insurance division gunned down around 6:45 Eastern time this morning at the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Crime scene tape is still up, the area blocked off, as you can see right behind me.
And in the news conference, they talked about the timeline. I don't know if you had a chance. I know you've probably had an incredibly busy morning/afternoon here. Did you get a chance to listen in on that news conference at all?
I did. You know, the news conference went on right before we went live for the 12 o'clock show here, but basically it's a developing situation. They say that it was a targeted attack. There's no real threat to the public right now. So suspect's on the run. He fled towards Central Park, and again, it's a developing situation.
Yeah, and there's a tree lighting there this evening, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, the Rockefeller Christmas tree lighting is happening in a few hours, just a couple blocks away. So there's a lot of people out and about already. There's a ton of people staying in this hotel. A lot of people just see the commotion of all the TV cameras and whatnot going on here. So they've been stopping by and trying to see what's going on. But again, the police are really saying it doesn't seem like there's a big threat to the public because they do believe this was a targeted attack.
Okay, all right, Meredith Gorman, thanks for setting the scene for us there and taking us live to that location right outside the Hilton Hotel. Thank you, appreciate it. Amber, if you could pop back in here. We know that this area is the heart of Manhattan, Midtown. The Hilton Hotel, if people are familiar with it, it's right off of Times Square. Very busy area. And Amber, if you want to jump back in here, you had a chance to listen to it. I listened to most of us, but if we could kind of go through some of the details of that press conference, they were able to give us quite a bit of information. Do you want to start?
Sure, yeah. So, oh, sorry, Leo, can you? Thank you. So just a little bit of what we have here. The victim, again, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was walking out of his hotel literally across the street to the Hilton, where there was going to be an investors group conference. And as of earlier this morning, it did seem like that conference was still on track to happen. But as he was walking into the Hilton where that conference was happening, the suspect approached him from behind and started firing into his back.
Amber, not to interrupt, do we have the sound from?
We do,
okay,
yeah.
Why don't we play that, because that really gives us kind of
it really does. Leo,
here.
That's A18, if we could play that. Just give us 1 second.
The victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the United Health Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m. we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park.
Okay, so just to continue on with that timeline, if I could here, these are the notes I took, and you cross-check me here, Amber. But 6:45 a.m. that call, 911 call comes in of a man shot. 6:48, police arrive on the scene. They find Brian Thompson. He has been shot in the back and in the leg. He is still alive at that point, transported to Mount Sinai, and at 7:12 he is pronounced dead. So there was a time in there. We don't know if anything was said to first responders. There's not a lot of information there, but the shooter, according to NYPD, was on foot at first when the shooting happened. About 5 minutes prior to that shooting, he'd been standing there in that area, just sort of waiting. And at 6:45 is when Brian Thompson walked out. And the conference started at 8. And the question was asked during the press conference of, why was he leaving so early? We know that he was a big part of that conference. He may have been just trying to get there early, but it's interesting that the suspect was standing there for 5 minutes as if that person knew when, because maybe he'd been standing there an hour or 30 minutes, but it was that very short amount of time, 5 minutes before he was to walk out that door.
And NYPD did also say that several other people had passed by the shooter and he paid them no mind. It was not until Thompson walked out that the shooter made his move. So very, very clearly targeted. The question was asked of the chief, was this a professional hit, was the phrase that the reporter asked. The chief strayed away from saying professional, but did say very clearly a proficient use of firearms. You heard him say there that the gun had jammed at one point during the attack, and the shooter was very quickly able to clear that gun and continue firing. So just really very brazen. We still don't know, the shooter is at large. So police did say that this bike that he's on, Amy, has GPS on it.
So a couple of things I wanted to point out. The city bike is important, and then also there was we didn't hear it in that soundbite. There was a cell phone that was recovered in an alley nearby, and again, police not saying who that was from, what may be on it. They're taking a look into it. But as we talk about that city bike, so let's see. I have this. Okay, so the e-city bike, they tracked it, and it was last tracked going towards Central Park. And yes, they do have GPS on those bikes. Now, those the reporters we've been listening to this morning on the national coverage who live in New York City talk about these e-city bikes. I'm guessing they're very similar to the ones we have here, where you have to have a credit card or an account. You can be a guest and go on it, but maybe there's some sort of way to track that. Also, a couple of other things that I wanted to just bring up. So the search right now, imagine a street level search for someone who apparently had fled on a bike. Someone on a bike in New York City. I can't even imagine. Now, the good news is there are security cameras everywhere. I read somewhere that there were at least 20 cameras per block in that area, and we saw the surveillance video stills as we showed you just a little bit ago. So hopefully, I can't imagine this sort of just needle in a haystack situation that law enforcement is having in front of them right now. But hopefully with all of the tools and the technology, they're able to track something down. And then of course, they've issued a $10,000 reward for anybody offering information that is helpful to them in making this arrest. So I don't know, did we leave anything out, Amber? I'm just kind of looking through my notes here.
Would you like to hear from a witness this morning?
Yes, thank you.
So this is going to be page A20, Leo.
Okay, let's play that.
Actually, I was paying attention. I was holding my phone, then I hear the shot, And when I look at the guy with a gun, like, the silent gun, I got like a black gun. And I saw him, after he shot him, he ran across the street. This way. I tried to take a picture, but it's too far away.
You can see that picture there looks quite similar to the surveillance images that NYPD shared just a couple hours ago as well. So I would imagine, Amy, we'll be seeing more of this. It is Manhattan, of course, everybody has a phone. People will have heard and taken notice of this. So in addition to the surveillance videos and pictures we're going to be getting from that area, I think there will be a lot more witnesses coming forward in the hours, days that follow. NYPD did mention that the cameras that they have checked so far actually don't have any audio on them. I thought that was interesting. So that might be where there are some gaps currently in this investigation. We don't know if there were any conversations prior to this. It does not appear, according to NYPD, that the suspect said anything to Thompson. But again, no audio. So.
Okay. I do want to mention one more quick thing here before we're going to do more on this, including his wife, who spoke with NBC News here just a little bit ago. But one thing I had a question about was, did he have a security detail with him? And I know this was asked during the news conference, and it appears that at this time, and again, this investigation now just a few hours old, it appears that he was by himself at the hotel. There didn't seem to be anybody else that was checked in conversation with him. And I do have a little bit of insight from a source who knows a lot about security details for people like the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and it's very typical for them to have sort of a VIP security detail, which would involve something like maybe a driver, maybe a protection agent, somebody who is sort of around them. And then when they travel, sometimes they will have an advanced security who will go in, make sure that the hotel is secure and that kind of thing. But even in that case, you just don't know if that would have been enough in this case, because he was shot, in the back walking away. So I wanted to point that out. And then also, I think this is where I want to bring in. Oh, go ahead.
Well, really quickly, I did want to mention that NYPD did say during the press conference they have made contact with police here locally.
Yes.
So that connection has already happened. They're looking into, if any police here have any additional information. I would suspect that they are largely looking for motive here, because right now that is it's totally unclear. Again, though, not a random attack. We just don't know why. So
important to remember. So obviously this hits home because this is a locally based company. We have, good chance that you know of somebody who works for that company. But we wanted to bring this into the picture as well. Brian Thompson's wife, Paulette, did talk to NBC News via phone just a short time ago. And this is what she told them. She says, quote, "There had been some threats. Basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage," meaning insurance. "I don't know details. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him." And then she goes on to say, quote, "I can't really give a thoughtful response right now. I just found this out. I'm trying to console my children." They have 2 children together as well. She is a physical therapist here locally. They live in Maple Grove. And again, they have 2 children. So you're going to go online on social media today and you're going to see a lot of really crude comments and speculation and, and frankly, jokes that are in very poor taste. If you see that, it's important to remember that this is a person who lives in our community with a family. Not to get on my soapbox, but I know in the news we can get very callous to things like this, and it's just important to keep that in mind today. So this is a live look right now at the scene. As you can see, not much going on in this very small picture, but if you were to zoom out, as we just saw with Meredith, there is still a police presence. There's some crime vehicles still on the scene, but that is the area where he was shot. Brian Thompson was shot this morning and killed. So I think it's important also really quickly before we head to a break here to point out the org chart, for lack of a better term. We wanted to clarify this just a little bit because, let's see, Amber, did I bring this out here? Because it can be kind of confusing. And you know what? Oh, yeah, here it is. I wrote it up. We weren't really able to find anything online, but I just wanted to kind of show you, if you can read this, it can be confusing. So United Health is also known as United Health Group, and that is sort of the overarching umbrella company here. And then you have UnitedHealthcare, which is one branch, and then Optum is the other branch. So these are companies that we know very, very well. Thompson was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, and essentially the differences are UnitedHealthcare is this health insurance provider, and then Optum is it's sort of like the tech-driven healthcare services company. So we have the insurance arm, and then the service delivery arm here. So I know that's a little bit of a raw sketch out, but just so we can understand at home, we get confused with it here, even in the newsroom, because there's just a lot of similarities there.